How's going guys, welcome to the channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto got mass harem with Samui and Hanabi? Part 2. If you wants to see awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get into the video. It's been some time since Naruto had added in Tsume and her two daughters as well, killing Kiba as the demonic Uzumaki is doing some light training with Hitomi watching him before he stopped and turned towards her. I've been meaning to ask, how many members of your family do you have from your marriage with your ex-husband? He asked since clans are difficult to keep track of specific family members. Oh, well, you already know about my no-good husband who's been a terrible father toward my second eldest daughter. The Haikyuu MILF said as she began listing her family members. Next are my three daughters with my eldest Akari, who kindly looks like me but younger. Then there's Hinata, which I'm sure you know since she was in your class. She informed, tapping her chin as Naruto thought about it as he kinds of remember her. And finally, there's my youngest Hanabi, who I have to admit does somewhat takes after her Hiashi. She added with distaste before continuing. Next there are my in-laws and their children Hiashi's twin brother who looks kind of exactly like Hiashi, but he's not very faithful toward his wife, his name is Momo by the way. She informed, causing her new lover to raise a brow at the name. Momo? Why is she named Momo? He asked, wondering about her sister-in-law's name. It's short for Momoyo, but she just likes to be called Momo. The busty perplet explained before continuing on with her list. Next are their two eldest daughters, which are twins, Hisha and Hashi, as well their son Niji, who I do find very unbearable to deal with. She trailed with deadpan eyes as she thought about her nephew's obsession with fate before thinking of someone else. Oh, there's a maid that looks after Hanabi, her name is Natsu. She quickly added, thinking about her youngest daughter's caretaker. Nodding at the list, Naruto then asked her a serious question. So, who really controls the Haikyuu clan? Your ex or someone else? He asked, causing his first mate to snicker with her arms crossed, pushing up her enormous double L-cup bosom, which has grown slightly from all the sex they've been having. Hiashi please. She chuckled as her jugs jiggled before the chuckling soon morphed into a sneer. Hiashi just does anything the elders of the clan tells him. She distastefully stated since the elders want to brand her eldest and middle children with caged bird seals and place them into the branch family as slaves and breeders. Sensing the MILF's negative emotions, the demonic blonde flexed his claws. Well in that case, looks like I'm leaving for another hunt. He said as he goes to grab his shirt and hood only for Hitomi to hug him from behind with a sexy seductive grin on her face. Before you leave Naruto-kun, how about some fresh creamy milk for the road? She seductively cooed, grinding her extra juicy melons against his bare back while rubbing her hands over his muscular chest as she rubbed down his abs before digging into his pants as the Uzumaki gained a predatory grin before the area was flooded with echoing sounds of a demon breeding his cow. Naruto, after having plowed Hitomi until the sun went down, lurked within the shadows, his demonic eyes glowing as he looked around the Haikyuu compound searching for his prey. Let's see, if I were a member of the Haikyuu elders, where would I be? He thought as he trekked through the colliders, quickly getting annoyed as every hallway and doors looked the same. Oh, funk it, I'm going full on killing machine on this place if I don't find them soon enough. He mentally growled in frustration as he stuck outside, pulling his hood up as he moved along on the top of the building as he finally found where the elders were as they were within a meeting room inside the main branch mansion as he pressed his ear against the wall as he wants to know of what they're talking about before he goes in there to kill them. Since now that worthless woman is gone, we can finally brand that failure of a Haikyuu. He heard one of the elders say before hearing them continue. And I'm sure Hiashi will agree to placing the caged bird seal on his daughter Hinata as well, making her into breeding stock. Another elder said, sounding smug. Not only her, but her older sister and cousins as well. Another elder, a woman this time, said as another male elder spoke. Well, given their looks, I won't mind doing them myself, he said with a lecherous tone that sounds a bit perverted as Naruto has heard enough as his rage and bloodlust were building with each elders talking as his eyes turned blood red and his hands shifted into claws as he had enough of them talking as well, living as he lost complete control of himself as he never wanted to kill so badly before. Within the meeting room, the Haikyuu elders were chattering as well, snickering as they made their plans, only for the next thing they knew, the light suddenly dimmed until they were in complete darkness as one elder, with their Byakugan on, is looking at the wall walking towards it while the other elders were wondering why the light suddenly cut off. Smash. Swish. That was until a clawed hand broke through the wall and grabbed the elder's face as they were dragged outside through the busted wall as a scream was heard before quickly being cut off by the sounds of a blade cutting through fresh, then silenced as the remaining elders are scared half to death, believing that the demon has come for them. Why is the demon here? "We must do something in order to stay," one of the elders started saying before another wall, which was behind him, gets pierced through by the claws which shot through his chest, as the second elder gasps as he looks down with blood dripping from his mouth as another claw sliced across his neck, decapitating him as his head fell onto the floor. Seeing that two of their members were now dead, the remaining elders tried to get away going through the door, only to see someone standing in their way with blood-red eyes glowing demonically within the darkness. "None of you are going to live after tonight," the person snarled with a demonic tone as he shot out spikes from his body, killing two more elders as their bodies are covered gaping holes and spikes as they were pierced through every part of the body, including the eyes, leaving only 4 elders left. "Please spare us. We will give you anything, just let us live." One of the remaining elders begged as Naruto just laughs at her plead. "You think some deal of giving anything I want would work? Well, it would on a human person, but however, I'm not human." The cloaked Uzumaki said dismissively as he approached the cowering Hyuga elders with his claws flexed out. "I'm a demon that will kill you where you stand," he declared as he lunges upon the scared female elder and starts lashing her up into pieces as she screams in pain before dying, before turning his attention at the last 3 elders before rushing towards the one at the middle and pinned him against the wall as he then used his blade-like clawed fingers to pierce through his hands and feet, snapping off each claw from his hand as the elder was crying in both fear and pain. "Why are you doing this, you monster?" he screamed, wondering why the demon was doing this. "I don't need a reason to kill the corrupt. That is what makes it so much fun, hunting and killing those who had it for so long," the hooded demon said as he jabbed a bladed finger into his forehead, piercing through the 6th elder's skull, ending his life as the 7th Hika elder goes for a Juken strike to the Uzumaki from behind, only for dozens of sharp spines growing from his back as they combined into one big blade that slices the foolish Hika in half. Seeing that they were the only one left, the final living elder fell backwards in fear as they saw the whole room now covered in blood, along with dead bodies littering the floor as they'd done something that should have been done earlier. "Guards. There's a killer in the meeting room. Come and protect your," they called out, but couldn't finish their order as their mouth gets pierced through by the claws of the hooded demon, who swipes away, tearing the top part of the elder's head, which flew and smacked against the wall as their body dropped. Seeing that all the Hika elders are dead, the Hika guards burst into the room with their Byakugan activated, only to be shocked and horrified upon seeing the carnage that were once their elder council as Naruto leered at them with a bloodthirsty grin. "Well then, looks like I'll be having a bit more fun before I go," he mused with a wicked tone as the guards charged towards him as he flexed his claws, smiling at the chance for more destruction and carnage. The next morning, the rest of the Hika clan saw the dead and mutilated remains of their clansmen as there was one survivor, along with the Hika clan symbol, with a claw mark slashed across it as Hiashi asks his brother, who had gotten a message from the only survivor before dying from their injuries, as well the stress and trauma from last night. "To give a message, the demon of the forest wants to see your sister-in-law, who is my wife, along with your nieces, my daughters, your daughters, and Natsu in the forest of death, and they will find out what happened to your wife that night she disappeared," Hisashi said, retelling the message that the survivor gave him. "But why them? Is it to eat them? Kill them?" the older twin questioned before crossing his arms. "No matter, we will send them, as this would be easy to get rid them for good," he coldly stated as he was happy to be rid of his daughters, since one's too stubborn while the other's a failure, but dismisses his youngest since she was to be married off once she became of age, but the fiancé had been reported dead, meaning that the contract is void. As his younger twin nods in agreement since he has to, since his brother will use the cage bird seal marked on his head if he were to disagrees with him. "Why couldn't the demon of the forest kill you as well?" Hisashi thought as he couldn't do anything about this as they left to inform Tsunade of what happened here as well, leaving out the part of what the demon of the forest wanted from them. A few hours later, a group of Hika women are walking around the forest of death as one of them was very angry. "Damn that asshole," screamed a woman in her mid-20s who appears to be a younger version of Hitomi, except her purple hair was styled as a side tail, as she's wearing a jonin vest over her combat kimono, which was hugging her double-eye cup wrists, as well her curvy figure, as this woman is Akari Hika, the eldest daughter of Hiashi and Hitomi Hika. Next to her is her younger sister Hinata Hika, who's just entering her 20s, as she has ink blue hair styled in an asymmetrical Harem bob and pale lavender-colored eyes, as she's wearing a light lavender sleeveless kimono blouse, along with a dark purple obi tied around her waist, which shows off her ample H-cup bust and curvy hergless figure, along with a pair of navy blue short shorts, mesh thigh stockings, and black knee-high open-toed boots. "I'm feeling the same way," Akari Ni-san, Hinata said with narrowed eyes at the mention of her father. Next was the youngest of the group, as she was actually a teenager with long brown hair tied in a ponytail reaching her knees with 3 bangs, 2 framing the sides of her face, while the third hanged from the left middle of her head, as well traditional wide eyes, as she's dressed in a yellow kimono and red obi skirt around her waist, as this is Hanabi Hikta. The youngest daughter as well recently graduated genin. I still don't get why I have to come, still I have heiress duties to attend to. Hanabi said with an irritated scowl, since she has more important things to do, as her older sisters sent her a sideways leer, since this involved their mother. The next Hika woman is the oldest of the group with short black hairstyle and a Harem bob, as she's wearing a jonin uniform, as it's really showing off her MILF-like body and figure, as it's hugging her double J cup fleece, as well a headband around her forehead, as this is Momoyo Hika, or as she likes to be called, Momo. Why does the demon want to see us? I hope it doesn't try to kill us. She thought as her face shifted to a serious expression while clenching her hands. If that demon tries it, I will take it down before it would even try to kill my babies. She mentally declared, turning her attention towards 2 other women. The aforementioned women are twin sisters in their mid-20s, as one has long dark brown hair, while the other has light brown hair, as both of them are wearing chunin vests, with the darker shade brunette wearing a white slavelle shirt underneath, while the lighter shade brunette was wearing a white long-sleeved shirt, as they both also have their headbands tied around their foreheads, as these 2 are Isha, the dark-haired twin, and Hashi, the light-haired twin, as the older sisters of Niji, Aka their little tight-ass fate-loving brother. Why would the demon have information of Aunt Hitomi? Hisha asked, as she wonders why the demon of Konoha would tell them about her missing aunt. I have no idea, Hashi answered, wondering the same thing. Finally, walking behind them was a Hika woman with short dark green hairstyle and a Harem bob, as she's wearing a white maid apron over a full-length kimono, as well a headband around her forehead, as this was Natsu, and she's wondering why she and her charge were part of this anyway, as all of them kept walking. Snap rustle. Until they hear a loud snapping rustling sound, as all of them looked behind, not even knowing that they were being watched, as a figure snuck behind a Carrie, who felt a hand pressed around her mouth, as she was quickly and quietly taken away with her eyes widen in shock and fear, as she was dragged into the shadows of the forest. Not seeing who or what made the sound, the group turned around only to see that a Carrie has vanished out of nowhere before a chain suddenly grabs Momo, as it pulls her into the shadows of the forest. Aunt Momo? Mom? Hinata, Hanabi, Hashi and Hisha called out in fear and worry as the cousins gathered closer towards each other, as they're a bit scared now. What do we do now, Natsu? The current Hika heiress uncharacteristically stuttered as she turns towards her maid caretaker, only to see something rushing towards them from the shadows fast as it grabs hold of the green net, only for them to vanish back towards the shadows. Stealing her nerves, Hinata widen her eyes as she leaps away from her sister and cousins, as a net rises up and takes all 3 of them upward into the dense forest canopy, leaving the blue tea by herself as she gets into the Hika clan's Taijutsu stance in order to protect herself. Show yourself and bring back my family. She fearfully demanded while trying to stay on guard, but forgot her flank as Naruto, without his hood on, stalks from behind and quickly covers her eyes and leans towards her ear. You will be with them soon enough, he whispered as he hits her neck, knocking her out as he caught her unconscious body, as another memory plays within his head, showing a child version of her crying as she's wearing winter clothing, as well being picked on by some older kids, but he shakes it off. Why are my memories coming back harder and foggier every time? He questioned, wondering why this was happening as he carries Hinata towards his home along with the others. After what seemed like hours, the Hika group were woken up by the sound of blades being sharpened as they rubbed their necks, releasing groans and moans as they saw that they were inside a large dark room as they go looking for the exit, as Hinata opens the door only for their eyes to widen, seeing Hitomi sitting in a chair reading a book. Mother. Aunt Hitomi. Hitomi-san. Hitomi-sama. They all exclaimed as the 3 sisters hugged their missing mother. You're okay. Hinata cried with tears as she tightly hugs her, the Hika MILF, which surprised her as a Carrie does the same thing, while Hanabi pulled away and pouts since she was being squished between 3 pairs of overdeveloped boobs, cutting her hug short. What, you thought I was dead? Hitomi asked with a slight smirk as she puts her book down, as her 2 eldest daughters separated with concerned looks on their faces. We thought that you've died. Because you never came back home. Both of them worriedly declared as they once again went back to hugging their mother, as she smiles while her youngest angrily pouts as her attempted hugging were once again boob blocked. Well, I am alive and I've been living here now because your father is an asshole. The busty perplexed stated as her eldest agreed. Hell, yeah he is. She declared before crossing her arms. I can never understand why you ended up with him anyway. She questioningly added, wondering how her parents even hooked up. It was an arranged marriage set up by the Hika elders Akari. Hitomi stated with a deadpan tone by mentally grinned since Naruto told her he'd slaughtered them all, as well informing her that the family members she mentioned would be sent to the forest, which made her grin even more that she gave him a two-part reward, with the first part involving Pazuri. As four of them began talking, Momo went around to find the source of the blade sharpened with her daughters and Natsu following behind as the sound lead them towards another room as they see a young man who seems to be the same age as Hinata, as his hood was covering his head making them unidentifiable, but what really drew their attention was that he was sharpening several blades against a grindstone wheel-like fingernails with a nail file as sparks were flying as the stone grind against the blades. Momo along with Hisha, Hashi and Natsu are shocked as the Haika MILF realizes that this teenager could very well be the demon of the forest, as she knows enough that the demon uses claws, but she didn't know that the claws are in fact his own hands and fingers as they continued watching him sharpen his claws. "Come out of the shadows," he suddenly said, catching them by surprise. "I know you four are there and that you have questions for me, so come on out and ask them," he added as he didn't even turn around or look back when he talked. Knowing that they've been found out, the four women entered the room. Who are you, and why are you killing people around the village?" Momo demandingly asked as her daughters nodding. "That's right, and why have you killed the Haika elders and have us come here?" Natsu added with narrowed eyes as she activated her Byakugan, as something about this demon seems familiar to her. "Ah, right to the point, I see, very well," Naruto said as he finished sharpening his claws but continued to keep his back turned. "I am the demon of the forest, and the reason why I kill are either the ones that are corrupted or they try to capture me to be used as a weapon," he stated as he stood up as turned to face them, his hood overshadowing his face, while his glowing demonic eyes stared directly at them. Examples being the Uchiha clan failed coup which Mikoto-chan told me about, along with what they were planning as they needed to be dealt with, or how all of you would have been breeding stock or dead if Hitomi hadn't told me about your elders, as well me overhearing their plans for two of her daughters. He informed, shocking them with Momo, Hisha, and Hashi being horrified, while Natsu's shock and horrified expression was for a different reason. No. How could Hitomi-sama do this to the clan? The green-haired maid thought, grinding her teeth in shock and anger, wishing that her mission to poison the Haika matriarch wasn't interrupted when one of the other maids drank her tea only to die, since the perplet was originally supposed to die during childbirth. But for the others I've killed, blame them for their own stupidity, as they were fools thinking that they can attack a demon that has a shit ton of bloodlust. Well, that is well getting some long overdue retribution for the actions and crimes committed towards me when I was still human," the hooded man said as he looks over his freshly sharpened finger blades. "And just who are you in truth? What's your real name?" Momo demanded as Hitomi and her daughters finds them in the room, as the latter three were shocked and tense as they stared at the hooded demon, as the former just smirks. "You're not asking the right question," Naruto said dismissively, wide a grin which was concealed by his hood. "Fine, who were you?" Hashi asked, frustrated with her hand clench and Byakugan narrowed. "Now that is the right question," the Uzumaki said with a raised finger. "You must remember, humans can become demons, always have and always will when the right conditions are met," he added as he crossed his arms. "Now as to who I once was, think back to when Hinata was younger and that a blonde-haired boy defended her from those bullies who made fun of her because of her eyes." He hinted as Hinata's eyes widen as she remembers that day of the boy coming to her aid as he tries to fight them as tears fell down her cheeks. "No, you couldn't be him. I thought you died along with Iruka-sensei years ago," the blue tea exclaimed with her voice breaking its shock and disbelief as Naruto's clawed hands returned to normal as he pulled his hood back, revealing his face, shocking the Haika mate as she realized who this man was. "No, I can't be. The demon fox is alive and corrupted Hitomi-sama," she mentally sneered, not seeing why her clansmen were killed as she pulled out a kunai hidden in her sleeve, planning the kill, who she still believes to be the Kyuubi vessel, only to suddenly be juken struck in the back of the head by Hitomi, who catches her collapsing body before she hit the floor. "That's for trying to poison me when I was pregnant with Hanabi, as well isolating her," the Haika matriarch threateningly whispered, giving the once trusted maid a Byakugan-fueled glare before losing consciousness as she dragged her body away while the group was distracted by her new lover. "Things are not always as they seem," he countered as the lavender-eyed Haika broke out in tears, seeing the boy she idolized was alive, as well grown to be ruggedly handsome as her face heated up with a blush. "Hinata, what's wrong? Why are you acting like you found a ghost of someone you knew?" Hisha asked, wondering what got her cousin so chalked up as she just runs up to him and tightly hugs him, locking her arms and legs around his shoulders and waist while her H-cup knockers squashed against his chest along as the reaction surprised her family members. "Naruto-kun, you're alive." Hinata tearfully squealed as she tightens her legs around him as her crush suddenly puffed into smoke, dropping her onto her butt as another Naruto steps from the shadows, rubbing his waist with a slight wince. Yes, I'm alive Hinata-chan, but I am not the same Naruto you knew before as I am a demon now and the bloodlust I now have is not safe. He stated as he began explaining his bloodlust problem. At times it's too much to bear as I need to constantly kill just to satisfy it. Hell, the deaths of the Haikyuu elders were my doing as they were planning to brand you and your older sister with a caged bird seal and use you as breeding stock, with one of them even saying that he would do you both himself. He stated, making the women gasps upon hearing that, while Hinata's face paled with a horrified, disgusted expression, while Hanabi was turning green and gagging at the thought as Akari turned red with anger. Those assholes. The eldest sister hollered as she punched a wall, scaring her youngest sister who hid behind the blue tea as she took deep breaths. But thank you for killing them. She thanked before walking up to him. But we never officially met. I'm Akari, Hinata's older, sexier sister, and I heard a lot of things about you. Since she has this massive crush on yo, she started introductions only to be interrupted. Ni-chan. The middle sister cried out as she's blushing up a storm, causing the Uzumaki to smile a bit as Hanabi steps up. And I'm Hanabi Haika, Ni-san's younger sister and heiress to the clan. The brunette teenager formally introduced herself with a stoic expression, now seeing the resemblances with the current Haika head. If what you said is true, won't you feel the need to go off killing soon? She questioned, seeing this as a serious matter, as well as a chance to put her studies as heiress to the test in solving serious matters. Maybe, but my lust is also through the roof. Naruto stated with a lustful grin as the young brunette just looked at him confused. What do you mean by that? She asked, not knowing what he meant, nor noticing the blushes on her family faces. Understanding what he was talking about, understands as Hitomi steps in. There's another way to satisfy and suppress his bloodlust, and like that he won't have to go on killing rampage. The purple-haired MILF explained, startling everyone except the Uzumaki demon with her sudden appearance. By doing what exactly, mother? The Haika heiress questioned, still out of the loop, which made her mother mentally frown, seeing that her youngest doesn't even know the birds and the bees, but that will be solved soon enough. By having sex, of course. Hitomi stated with a noticeable blush and grin on her face, recalling all those times Naruto had funked her brains out, as well screwed her into pure sexual bliss, as all the other older Haika women reacted with a blush on them, some more intense than others, as a certain Hyuga also gained a nosebleed. What? Momo exclaimed with a dark blush covering her face, while her body was uncontrollably shaking. Wait, does that mean you've done it, Hitomi-san? She questioned as her sister-in-law continues to grin as she nods. Yes, he made me his mate. The purple-haired MILF stated while her blushing face darkens, remembering their first time as well every other time they funked. He's so big down there too, practically twice or thrice the size of the men in our clan, she added with a slight swoon as Momo, Hashi, Hisha, and Hinata are blushing badly as she notices that Naruto, Hanabi, and Akari are no longer in the room, before they soon hear moaning as she was smiling, knowing what's going on. Oh my, first he claims me, and now he's claiming my eldest and youngest daughters, she giggled as she left to find the missing trio, while the rest of her family followed. What do you think, all my Haika cows together and I'm still ready to funk, the demon man huskily growls, nibbling her ear as he continues groping his first cow's milk-filled jugs before realizing something. Speaking of Haika cows, where is that maid Natsu? He asked, wondering where the green-haired Hyuga was during their family orgy. With a look of pleasure changing into a scowl, Hitomi removed his hands from her bountiful bust as she turned off the water before looking back at him. Turning towards Hitomi, Naruto gave her a questioning look. Why is your family's maid tied and gagged? He asked, confused, since the busty preplet said that the greenette was close to her. Crossing her arms, the Haika matriarch leered at her once trusted maid. Turns out those elders ordered her to assassinate me years ago with poison tea so that I would die giving birth to Hanabi as well, making sure to isolate and limit her social interaction so she would easier to control when she becomes leader of the clan. She spitefully stated as the maid thrashed around trying to get free of her binds. What? The blonde Uzumaki furiously exclaimed in his demon voice, releasing his kai, making Natsu quiver in fear for her life as his hands shifted into claws, ready to tear the beast to ribbons, only to stop as he felt Hitomi's soft hand grab and stroke his beep as she pressed herself against his chest. Don't kill her, Naruto-kun, for I have a better idea for her, she seductively purred, rubbing her tits against his pecs while continuing her hand job, which calmed the demon down as his hands shifted back to normal before cupping her rear, making her gasp and coo as he lifted her up into a tender kiss. Then, what do you wish to do with her, my milky queen? He huskily growled, using her pet name as she grinded herself against his solid manhood. Whispering into his ear, the Uzumaki gained a devious grin which grew as they both turned their attention towards Natsu, making the Haika maid feel uneasy as they closed and locked the door and activated seals so that they wouldn't be disturbed as they prepared to spend the next day or so destroying the traitorous woman mentally, spiritually, and above all, sexually. Somewhere within the forest of death, Naruto was moving along in the shadows of the tall trees as he's being followed by a squad of more Root Anbu as they're here to capture him for their leader master. Jumping onto the next tree, one of them turned towards the squad leader. What are the plans for capturing him? Many of our squads had tried and were killed. The Root agent asked as the squad leader scowled the area looking for their target. We're going to catch the demon now, he began, but couldn't finish his words as his heads get stabbed though claws of the demonic Uzumaki, who had jumped toward the squad leader, killing him on the spot with blood flying everywhere as a flash of blades cutting through the entire squad as the once green leaves of the tree bleed into red as body parts flew around against the trunks as well painting the bark and ground with multiple splatters. That was what, the 10th squad that was sent to get me? One would think that they would come up something better by now, Naruto said with an irritated groan before continuing moving through the forest to bring back food for his mate slaves. Meanwhile within the Hokage tower, Tsunade was reading yet another report of the demon attack as her daughter Sayuri is helping her out. So, this time, the demon attack and killed all of the Hokage elders as well several of their clan members. But question is why? The Senju heiress mused crossing her arms under her enormous bust as she pondered at the incident that happened a few days ago. Setting the report down, the busty Hokage turned towards her daughter. That is a good question, but here is a theory of mine. She said clasping her hands together resting her chin on top of them. What if Hitomi is alive and told the demon or was forced by the demon to tell her who rules the Hokage clan? She theorized since the Hokage elders were strictly traditional with their clan's ways as well system that keeps them divided. Placing her hands upon her hips, the extremely endowed brunette began rebuffing her mother's theory. But it's still a theory though because the demon doesn't leave anyone alive unless it has them live for a reason. She stated as she placed down the report as she starts frustratingly racking her head messing up her hair. Damn it. Just what is that demon even thinking? Is it a demonic ally? Or is it just a regular demon is out for blood? I just don't understand. She exclaimed completely frustrated by this demon as well the way it has been attacking. Rubbing 2 fingers against her temple, the blonde MILF began with a breath. That is the question since on one hand, he is dealing with the corrupt. But at times, he is killing Anbu, even if they belong to Danzo. She said before taking a moment to think about what she just said. Well, I guess from their view, the second one is self-defense, but what is going through the demon's mind? Demons do have high bloodlust, but what if this one can't control his? She once again theorized since demons do have uncontrollable bloodlust like any natural predator. Hearing her mother's theory caused Sarah's eyes to widen as she snapped her fingers remembering something. Oh, that's right. Didn't we read something like that from a book when we were at Demon Country? She asked but then she remembers something else. Mom, isn't it that time of the year for the third to see that kid? What was his name again? She asked as her mother turned towards her with a downcast expression. He goes to see Naruto's grave. She solemnly said before focusing on the portraits of her sensei as well her predecessor. From what sensei said, he was a good kid, a prankster more so really, but he gets that from his mother. She explained as she sadly chuckled to herself, her eyes shedding a few tears as she recalled those days with her younger cousin as her daughter rested a hand on her shoulder. Well, he was really cute from photos that the third had of him, the Senju era said, recalling those old photos of a cute little boy with whiskers on his face, as it was a real shame he died since he was family, even if she didn't grow up within the village. Yeah, he was, but if he was alive, he would have been a heartthrob and heartbreaker. Tsunade joked with a sigh since he would have his father's looks as well his mother's personality. Like his folks I bet, since he does look like that guy. The younger woman added as she points at the portrait of the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Well, in truth that is his father as one of Danzo's roots told me he was dead the night of his birth. The Senju matriarch stated as she clenched her hands in anger since the old warhawk lied to her about the death of her godson, something which her daughter quickly noticed. Then why don't you remove his status as an elder then? She questioningly exclaimed as the bustier blonde MILF sighs as she tells her daughter that there were several reasons why she couldn't remove him of his status. Elsewhere in Konoha, Ikumi is working on the clothing racks for her store while talking with another woman who stands 5 ft 4 inches in height as she has a matcha skin tone, along with short blonde hairstyle and a pixie cut with a single strand sticking from the top of her head. And turquoise-colored eyes as she has a nicely toned body as well curvaceous pear-shaped figure consisting of large supple cup wrists, slim waist with a flat-toned stomach. Wide curvy hips with thick thunder thighs and supple bubbly rear connected to long lusciously toned legs as her outfit consists of a white and red flame patterned bikini top under a white buttoned shirt tied in a knot showing her abdomen, maroon A-line skirt and brown calf-high boots as she also wears a croaker around her neck. This woman is Ikumi Mito, longtime friend of Ikumi Uchiha as well expert in all things meat. And To avoid confusion between the two, I'll be referring Ikumi Unijiya as Ikumi U, while referring to Ikumi Mito as Ikumi M from here on out. Currently, both similarly named women were talking about something pretty personal. How long has it been since Naruto was taken from us, Ms. Eel? The dark-skinned blonde asked the raven-haired MILF while taking a bite from her homemade beef skewers. It's been about 6 years, Ms. Beefcakes. Ikumi Yu simply replied as she thought that maybe she should tell her friend that Naruto is really alive. As well, a very great funk as her cheeks dusted pink at the memory of their time together, as she's currently wearing a white shirt with long lavender-colored sleeves, as well her store's logo and black pants that really hugs against her hips and legs as she finish hanging the new clothes on the racks. Ikumi M let out a sad sigh upon hearing her friend's answer. I miss him very much. He was so cute when he was younger, she said, leaning against the counter as she rested her cheek against her palm while tracing small circles in the air with her skewer before taking another bite. If he was still alive, then I might have tried to get with him. She admitted since moving here to Konoha wasn't exactly easy since she was originally from the land of lightning, just like how her MILF friend was from the land of water. Hearing the busty chef saying that struck the Unijiya woman the wrong way. No way. She possessively exclaimed, grabbing the younger woman by her shoulders as she began roughly shaking her, making her mega-sized meatballs bounce before staring her straight in the eyes. I would get him first before you since I'm more experienced in fex. She boldly stated as she has a sickly sweet smirk on her face. No way. I'm way prettier than you. Ikumi M shouted back as she flipped the bustier ravinette on top of the counter before climbing on top as she straddled her waist. And while I may not have the same sized milk jugs as you, I still got plenty of meat in all the right packages, she smugly countered, smacking her thick meaty thighs and plump juicy rump roast before crossing her arms under her bust with a saucy grin on her face. Seeing that she was currently pinned, as well getting such a close view of her chef friend's lower body, Ikumi Yu released a sigh in defeat. Then maybe we could have shared him. She said with a knowing glint in her eye as the blonde stops and thinks about it. Well, that is a good point there, Ikumi, but what's the point since he's gone, she reminded as she once again gets sad about it, as well a little conflicted since she doesn't like sharing, since her father always told her that sharing is a sign of weakness since she's been feuding with Yakiniku Q since moving here as they are her competition. Heading off the store owner, Ikumi M helped her friend back to her feet when a voice suddenly spoke, getting their attention. Hey Ikumi Nichan, I need some new clothes, if you help me with that. Hearing that the voice was coming from the back of the store, both women turned to see a hooded figure, getting one to smile lovingly while the other got in a fighting position. Or are you going to be naughty as I will have to punish your sexy fast, they sexually commented as the matcha-skinned blonde was about to charge only to be grabbed and pulled by her arm. Ikumi, please let me explain of what is going on and hopefully you don't get mad at me afterward. Ikumi Yu said as she starts explaining of what going on to her friend, who seems to have stayed calm throughout the whole talk. So, that's about it, do you have any questions? She asked, letting go of the younger woman's arm as she crossed her arms under her enormous knockers, waiting for her to ask her say anything. Taking a deep breath, Ikumi M began to speak. Who the hell is he? She shouted while pointing, leering at the figure only to blink as she saw no one there, only to quickly gasp and moan as she feels someone groping her freests. It has been a very long time, Nichan, you've gotten sexier in these last 6 years, the figure said as he continues to grope and massage her meaty melons before moving downward to her even meatier hips thighs, making her moan as she reached back and pulled down his hood only for her eyes to widen upon seeing who she thought was long dead. Lemon happened. Dispersing his two clones, Ikumi Yu and Ikumi M falling onto their very sore and abused rears, Naruto grunted as the memory transfer caused him to once again explode all over the shower, coating his two Nichans with his seed before they quickly latched onto his beep as they both sucked down his final load, wanting to still remember the taste as they slipped into blissful unconsciousness. Of such floody Nichans I have, he breathed with a pant as he dropped to his knees as he tenderly rubbed their bloated bellies, watching with a grin as the mate mark appeared upon the Mito woman's womb, showing that she'd just been impregnated with his child. After getting cleaned up as well, putting both women to bed, the demonic Uzumaki was jumping over buildings, staying in the shadows on the night. Maybe I might have gone too far with Ikumi Ni and Ikumi Ni, he thought, thinking that maybe he shouldn't have done such wild and intense fex since his Nichans won't be waking up for a day or two since he's been going non-stop since he'd gotten his little herd of Hyuga cows. Get the funk away from me. His thoughts were broken when he suddenly heard shouting as he stops in his tracks as he then goes towards it until he finds himself in a back alley where he saw several chunins as they appear heavily drunk as he saw Red, seeing that the group was surrounding a woman trying to cover herself as her clothes were torn up. Back the hell off, you drunk bastards. The woman screamed out his anger as Naruto shifted his hands into claws before pulling his hood up. Shut the funking hell up, you bimbo bis. One of the drunken chunins yelled with a belch as he grabbed the woman by her arms, forcing her enormous wrists to bounce as they're completely exposed. Do you have any idea just how much of a funking tease you are? He added, slamming her roughly against the wall as he grabbed and squeezed her giant fleshy orbs, as well her equally huge fasts. What with these gigantic wrists of yours, along with that fat fast that's bounce and jiggle whenever you walk by or are just standing even. It's like you're just asking to buy funk like the bimbo whore you really are. He exclaimed as the others are agreeing with him. Which is why we're going to have our way with you, slut. A female chunin declared, wanting to suck and grab those huge boobies, and nothing was going to stop her from making this bis her bis as the group began moving closer to their capture victim as they were about to do something. You think it's really a good idea to do this with the demon running around at night? Asked a sinister sounding voice from behind them as the group of drunken chunins turned around and see who seems to be a hooded man, thinking that he wants to join in. If you heck want your heck turn with this slut, then heck wait. The third chunin said through hiccups as the man groping the woman threw her down against the ground. Plus, the demon of the forest is a myth. A story parents tell their children so they will be good little children. Said the supposed leader as Naruto plainly looks at them as he brings his right hand in front of his face, stroking his chin. Then let's test it and see if it's a myth or not, he wickedly said as he decapitated the two closest to him, shocking the entire group as he smirks at the rest. Because, the last time I've checked, I wasn't a myth, since I'm as real as you are dead, he added, making them all realize that he's the demon as the leader tried screaming, but his mouth gets pierced through by the claws before yanking upwards, splitting his head in half, as he dropped dead as the other chunins as well the woman are shocked upon seeing this as stares upon the remaining group of would-be rapists with glowing red eyes. Also, tell them who have sent you when you get to hell, he added with a sadistic tone as he charged at the female chunin with a downward slash, slicing her in half like a knife through butter, before swiping at her upper half a few extra times as pieces and blood littered the ground. Before anyone could react, the demonic Uzumaki kills two more by piercing them through their chests and ripping out their hearts, before squeezing them like overly ripe fruit, as another two tried to escape, but didn't get very far as he shoots a single claw from both his hands, piercing them through the back of their heads. I'm Motherfinker. One of the remaining chunins tried to attack him with a kunai, only to find out that they poorly planned attempt easily gets blocked by his arm breaking the blade upon contact, even though it was very dull and rusted, meaning that it would have broken at any point. Giving the drunken fool a blank stare, Naruto gave an unamused snort. Are you really that much of a fool thinking that would actually work? He said, sound more like a question than an insult, as he grabs the chunin's head and smashes them against the wall with all of his strength as their head exploded in a spatter of blood, skull fragments, and brain matter. Seeing that they were the only one left, the last chunin fell to their knees, begging to be spared only for a large spike to shot up out of the ground, impaling them like a beeptail weenie, as he looks at the woman who turns out to be Sayori Senju, as she's standing against the wall. How many closer and I will make you regret it. She threatens with false bravery as she didn't want to admit it, but she's really afraid since this demon just killed several chunins right in front of her, and now he's walking up to her, but won't let her fear get the best of her, as she quickly made hand signs. Fire style. Fire dragon jutsu. She exclaimed as she takes a very deep breath and lets out a massive dragon made out of fire as her jutsu hits the demon dead on as well, burning the bodies of her dead rapists, except she doesn't hear screams of agony or pain like she'd expected. Instead, the demon simply walks out of the intense flames complexly unscathed as his clothes were still intact, along with no burns anywhere as she sees scales on his hands. Nice try, but next time actually try and hit me with your best shot when you're using that weak jutsu, Naruto taunted, since he'd just saved her from getting raped like he'd done with Hitomi as he continued to walk towards her. Seeing that her jutsu didn't have any effect, the extremely busty brunette stepped back pressing against the wall behind her. But that was my best shot. She mentally shouted while breathing heavily since she'd use a lot of chakra before the next thing she knew, she gets kneed hard in the stomach, causing her to gasp out as she faints from it as she drops down. The demonic Uzumaki quickly catches her as he placed her extremely endowed body over his shoulders. Now then, let's drop you off to your mother's workplace. He said to himself as he jumps onto the rooftops as he heads over to the Hokage tower while carrying the Senju heiress, while thinking about how insanely bountiful her body felt against him. Once he'd gotten to the tower, he opened a window of the Hokage's office as he went inside and put Sayori on the couch and was about to leave when suddenly the lights turned on. Who the hell are you and what are you doing to my daughter? A woman's voice loudly demanded as they sound pissed off as Naruto quickly turned to see Tsunade charging towards him with a fist beat back as she superpowered punched directly in his face, but it didn't do anything to him at all, as the female Kage is shocked to see that her punch didn't do any harm, as she then notices the hard black scales making her hiss and curse as she also noticed that her hand was littered with small cuts. Taking this moment of opportunity, the whiskered-faced man socked her right in the gut, lunching her hard against the wooden wall, leaving a large indent. Alright, show time, he thought as he lets out a mighty demonic roar that shook the entire building, as the sound was heard throughout the entire village, as he soon stopped and looked down at the bustier woman, as she was coughing up blood and saliva. You should be thanking me since I've saved her from being raped by a group of drunken fools, he stated as he used his claws to destroy the lights, making it completely dark as he made his escape. With the lights destroyed, Tsunade couldn't see a thing, so she won't know which way the demon could have gone to, as she then goes to check on her daughter, as she doesn't see any wounds as she sighs out in relief. Just what is that demon's motivation? She asked herself, wondering why the demon didn't just kill her like all the others, but decides that for now, she's just glad that Sayuri is alright. Within the Hokage office, Tsunade was pacing back and forth with a grim expression on her face, as an entire 3 months and 2 weeks has passed since her close encounter with the demon, as more deaths had kept piling up by the savage creature. Even with all that had been going on, Konoha is still hosting the Chunin exams with a change of it, and that is to found clues of the demon as well to capture him as the second part of the Chunin exam. She said to herself looking out the window towards the Forest of Death, where the second part of the exams should currently now be taking place. At the entry gates of Training Ground 44, Aka the Forest of Death, Anko, a woman with spiky purple hair tied in a pineapple ponytail dressed in a mesh bodysuit hugging her slender-toned hergless figure, as well her ample double G cup bust under a tan trench coat and burnt orange miniskirt, was standing in front of everyone as she explained that they were originally going to use the scrolls. But there was a change of plans. Now do all of you brats get it, good. Now then, as I said, gather any info of the demon that lives in this forest, and by some chance of pure luck, capture him and bring him over to the tower at the middle of the Forest of Death. The perplexed informed every genin in front of her before a sadistic grin appeared on her lips. However, the chances of capturing him are most likely zero, she added with a mad cackle, getting many of the younger genins nervous as some gulped fearing for their lives, while others either just scoffed or showed no fear at this so-called demon, thinking that this was just some kind of scare tactic, just like the first part of the exams. Oh, and one last word of advice, don't die, so have fun, since you all have 5 days to do so. She cheerfully exclaimed before snapping her fingers as a few other Chunin proctors were handing out a piece of paper to every genin present. Now then, sign this as ensuring that Konoha isn't responsible for you and or your team's deaths during this part of the exam. She told them all since the second part of these exams always have some misfortunate deaths. As a few Chunin were handing out papers for the genins to sign, Team 8, now consisting of Hinata along with Inuki replacing Kiba ever since his death, as her old teammates had died during a mission without her a month before the exams began. As well a third member whom happens to be the only man on the team, as he's wearing a dark grey high-collared shirt that's covering the entire lower half of his face under a mossy grey jacket with a hood, as well as small pair of black sunglasses, so no one could see his eyes, as his name is Shino, as he's currently coming up a plan for him and his team to gather any info on the demon. But won't engage any combat toward it. As he is talking with Inuki along with her Ninken companion, Fang, which is large dog with dark blue fur, as well as Akamaru, who is also a large dog with white fur as well, Kiba's Ninken whom she'd also taken in since his death, as they're listening to the Aburami's plans. But however, Hinata is the only one who isn't listening as she's thinking about of what happened during the last couple of months. It's been almost 2 months now since father died, that no good facile, and it was all thanks to Naruto-sama's plan, she thought, replaying the memory within her mind. Flashback, 2 months ago. Naruto has taken all of his Hyuga cows back to their clan's home after an entire month since his encounter with Tsunade, as he'd spent that time with non-stop mating with his mate slaves, as well as telling them of how he plans to lead Hiashi's death. So, you are all in agreement with my plan to kill the stuck-up bastard? He asked as they all nodded. Of course, Naru-kun, since I don't want him to even attempt to harm my daughters as well my future grandchildren. Hitomi stated, rubbing her stomach, which was beginning to show a slight baby bump, as her freests were also slightly bigger now being an L cup. Yeah daddy, don't let the mean old man hurt our babies, Hanabi added with a childishly sounding tone, as she latched onto her daddy like a child would do with their parent, as her mind and spirit were completely shattered from all the non-stop punishments, developing both a sexual kink for spanking as well a daddy complex. Embracing the ex-heiress within his arm, the demonic Uzumaki began explaining his plan to kill the Heike patriarch, which would be by slowly poisoning him with several small amounts of a special kind of poison that causes major harm to both the brain and heart, as he took out a vial containing said poison. Luckily, with help from Retsu-chan, we have just that kind of poison we need. He said, eyeing the vial, recalling the promise he'd made to the raven-haired nurse for neglecting her for the past month. Since he'd been too distracted breeding his Heike cows, he had forgotten his other mates, especially since most of them were carrying his children. And we all remember the plan, right? Momo spoke up as she turned her attention towards Natsu, still wary about the maid's loyalty since she attempted to assassinate her sister-in-law as well isolate her youngest niece to become the elder's figurehead. Yes mother, the plan of Uncle Hiashi's death will be assured. Hisha said with her twin nodding in agreement. Flashback over. As soon after that, the days began passing by, Natsu as the maid that would be giving Tusan food or drinks that were laced with the poison whenever she had the chance with me and Akari helping her out whenever he asked for tea. The busty Bluety thought remembering every step of her mastermate's plan. Days continued to go by as Tusan's condition kept getting worse, the look in his eyes was most amusing, seeing and watching as he couldn't understand what was happening, nor even knowing why or how until one morning. Natsu found him dead within his bed, having died in his sleep she mentally mused with a smile, as her Uzumaki lover's plan had worked as she along with her mother, volunteered to be the ones to inform him of its success, followed by the hours of intense lovemaking, to ensure her impregnation since, while upset and jealous, that her mother got into her crush first with taking his virginity along with. Getting pregnant with his first child, she wasn't going to let her sisters, aunt, and even cousins get ahead of her. Sitting within her office as the new Hyuga clan head, Hitomi, as well her daughter Hinata, had gone to see Naruto to inform him about her ex-husband's death, which was good news since she could now return and lead the clan until Akari could take over. Achu seems like Hinata is still jealous of you little one the perplex dropping her baby bump with a smile since while nearly everyone within the clan was happy that she's alive and well. She put on an act when Hiashi demandingly questioned her pregnancy, accusing her of sleeping with the demon, before countering his question with another asking when was the last time they had sex together, which shut him up when she boldly announced to the entire clan that the only reason the demon let her live was because she was pregnant with Hiashi's child, with Momo helping to sell the act when she informed him that she was pregnant a few days before her sudden disappearance months prior. Everyone still thinks that you're that bastard's child is only me, Momo. As well your sisters and cousins knowing the truth she said tenderly to her growing baby as she will continue to lead the clan until Akari becomes the next head at the end of the year after having her status as heiress given back to her since Hanabi had now become a daddy's girl for her new lover. Alright everyone, head to your assigned gates and be ready for the test. Anko announced as everyone soon heard a loud terrifying roar from within the forest as a few of the gathered genin wet themselves as that roar wasn't from a normal animal because it sounded a lot more demonic. Well, looks like he's home the snake mistress laughed with a sadistic grin on her face. As every genin were going to their assigned gates, Hinata along with Inuki had taken notes of the girls from other teams from different villages. The busty Haika then starts thinking about her sensei sister figure, a crimson-eyed raven-haired woman named Kuranai Yuhi. Kuranai sensei would make a wonderful slave mate for Naruto-sama. Especially since her current boyfriend is cheating on her as she doesn't even know it. But Naruto-sama can fix that and change her mind about dating a Suma team. She mused and thought as she began thinking about talking to her lover master about funking her sensei sometime in the future. The Inyazuka meanwhile was taking mental notes about Anko. That Anko woman is one sexy hot bis since Naru-sama will have fun claiming her when he has the chance as well, maybe make her into a mother like he did my sister she mentally yipped as she's already imagining her alpha funking the proctor into submission as well motherhood. Pondering her thoughts some more, the lavender-eyed Bluety began thinking of other women her master could claim. Let's see I think Naruto-sama would have a wonderful time with Tamari-san once I get her to meet Naruto-sama, he will rock her world as well her entire body. She mentally gushed as she remembers meeting an older sandy blonde woman named Tamari from Suna a week before the exam started as both of them had become fast friends since her master would enjoy pulling those pigtails while funking her from behind, maybe even her younger sister since the redette seems very unhinged and could use an incredibly good lade. The fair-looking brunette soon grinned as she began thinking about their old classmate Ino Yamanaka. I don't know if Naru-sama remembers her, but I bet he would love break that bis by dominating her body, destroying her mind, and filling her holes completely full of hot until she's nothing more than a beep-hungry breeder. She mentally howls in a husking tone as she could already, she the gossip queen reduced to effects crazed bimbo. Both women were then broken out of their thoughts when they heard Anko yelling out. Open the gates and let the genins go. She announced as the gates opened and every genin teams went inside as a few quickly turned back as they soon heard the demons roaring again as she cackles amusingly. Some of them are going to die, oh well she said with mock concern as she pulled a dango from her sleeve as she starts eating them happily. Somewhere within the forest of death, Naruto yanked his claws from inside the head of a giant snake as he looked at it with confusion. Where the hell did this snake even come from? He questioned out loud since he knows every creature that lives within this forest as well, having no memory of killing giant snakes before. Something isn't right here and I'm going to find out why. But before I do, he growled as he sees more snakes as they're moving toward him. "I'm going to make me and my mate some snakeskin clothing," he said, flexing his claws out as he's ready to kill them all. "I know it's not alright, I know we're not okay. Your hand is not in mine, you take it different way. And when I'm thinking about this, I'm satisfied. Even when you're next to me, you seem so far out of my way." The demonic Uzumaki splints towards the incoming serpents before jumping onto the nearest one's head and pierces through its skin as he then starts running downward around its body, slashing away at it as blood spurted out of the snake as its body splits into multiple sliced pieces. "I found myself out of control. I don't know why you've been so cruel. I found myself down in the hole. But something to say." Another colossal-sized snake lunged towards the blonde demon from behind, only to then get grabbed by its mouth as he then rips the snake's lower jaw clean off before stabbing it through the head from the roof of its maw. "I'm back in time, now it's fine. I am on my own again, but you're on my mind. You've broken me and now I feel just the pain. You crossed the line, no matter what game you played. Whatever you did to me, now it's fine. I am on my own again, get the hell out of my way." Naruto grabs the dead snake's fangs, ripping them out from the gums, and throws them towards another snake that was lunging at him as the fangs pierce directly into the serpent's eyes as it hisses, screech in pain, thrashing around aimlessly. "I know it's all over, I know what we have said. But I've got to forget and throw it all away. And when I'm coming back at home, I'm scared inside. So tired to fix it every time, that's what you are." The Uzumaki then leaps towards the blinded beast, kicking the fangs, pushing them deeper into the snake's eyes as the gigantic reptile screeched out in immense pain before his stabbed both his clawed head deep into its head, piercing directly into its brain, killing it on the spot as it drops dead against the ground, creating a slight tremor. "I found myself out of control. I don't know why you've been so cruel. I found myself down in the hole. But something to say." The demon of the forest soon looked at the last remaining snake, who hisses at him as he jumped up into the trees to avoid the serpent's strike. "You know what, I've always wondered what snakes taste like cooked," he said maliciously as his claws shifted back into normal hands as he began making hand signs. "I'm back in time, now it's fine. I am on my own again, but you're on my mind. You've broken me and now I feel just the pain. You crossed the line, no matter what game you play. Whatever you did to me, now it's fine. I am on my own again. Gang style. Darkness fire claws jutsu." He called out with eyes glowing demonic red as black fire forms around his hands as he shifted them back into their clawed form as he shot himself towards the final serpent as it lunges at him with maw wide open as the Uzumaki was swallowed whole, only for the snake to screech as its entire body became engulfed in flames as it was incinerated from the inside before dropping dead as an extra burnt corpse. End song. Tearing himself from inside the charred serpent, Naruto sees that all of the giant snakes are now dead as he grabs himself a piece of cooked snake meat and starts eating. Just where did all of these overgrown snakes come from anyway? He asked himself, wondering where all of these snakes come from until he notices a smell in the air that doesn't belong any of the genins. It smells like something that doesn't belong. This smell, it reeks of years of bloodshed, and that can't be that redhead with a tattoo on her forehead. No, this is a mixture of blood as well, snakes and chemicals. I wonder, he pondered as he stops eating the piece of snake meat and throws it away as he follows the scent of blood and snakes. Elsewhere at the Forest of Death, Team 7 was getting their faces handed to them by a feminine-looking man with long greasy brown hair and full lips, wearing a headband with the etching of a patch of grass, showing that he is from another village. Is this the best that someone from the mighty Uchiha clan of Konoha can do? I'm very disappointed. The Kusa ninja mocked, having expected a challenge. Glaring at the enemy ninja, Sasuke with Sharingan activated yelled out in anger. "I'm just getting started." His rant was soon interrupted when out of nowhere a claw-looking blade pierced through the Kusa ninja as blood started to come out of the wound as the Kusa ninja cried out before melting into a pile of mud, revealing them to only had been a clone. "So, that's what I've smelled." A demonic voice spoke, sending shivers through Sakura's spine as she and her teammates looked to see the demon standing from a tree branch. "I have to say, you have one corrupt soul on you, even more corrupted than the people of Konoha," the demon of the forest commented with his eyes glowing red as he shot his claws throughout the area, making the two men of Team 7 leap out of the way while the Pinket, still standing frozen at seeing the demon for real, gotten pierced in her left shoulder as she fell backward screeching. Leaping out from the shadows casted by the forest's canopy, the same Kusa ninja drew out his sword, blocking the incoming projectiles. "Well, I thought it was just some tall tale, but it seems that it's true. There really is a demon living in this forest," he said with a creepy pleased tone as well a very disturbing grin. "Well then, before I kill you and discover your secrets, allow me to introduce myself. "My name is Orochimaru, founder and leader of Itagakure," as well as one of the three Sannin, said the now identified Orochimaru as he looked at the Uzumaki like a Great Dane looks at food. "Oh geez, my rape-o-meter is going way off the charts with you. Have you funked anyone in a long time, since I think you could do so much better than Duckface, Pasty Boy, and Mr. Pinks over there?" Naruto mocked, pushing out his middle finger as well, twitching rapidly, as well making the beeping sounds before releasing a mocked horrified scream. "I'm a lady, you stupid demon. And take back what you say about Sasuke-kun," screeched the banshee as she yanked the blade from her shoulder and hurled it back towards the demon, only for it to miss by several feet in both height and distance. Man. Let's face it, Sakura's pathetic, since the only reason she passed in the anime was by only her book smarts, as she never put in any effort into physical training or even weapon practice. The Snake Sannin wasn't even fazed by the insult as he scoffed. "Joke all you want, it won't prevent me from strapping your naked corpse on my table as I poke and probe your insides to claim your secrets," he boldly stated as he was ready to strike at the demon, only to then felt something stabbed him through his back as he glanced downward to seize 5 blades piercing out of through his chest as he sees another demon behind him as he was about to attack burst into smoke, revealing it to have only been a shadow clone. Just as Naruto was about to stab Orochimaru through his head next, the Sannin's body suddenly turns into mud, revealing to have been another mud clone, as the Uzumaki's eyes flashed with annoyance upon seeing that his prey has escaped as he starts smelling, only to quickly dodge a fireball. "Hold it right there, demon. You have a lot to answer for," Sasuke shouted as he starts leaping towards the monster that slaughtered his father and clansmen, as he quickly gone through hand signs for another jutsu. Fire style. Grand Fireball Jutsu. He called, channeling all his anger and rage as well his chakra, creating the hugest fireball he ever created, about the size of an ox, as the jutsu crashes against the tree the demon was standing in, as the entire trunk became engulfed in flames before crashing over as the Uchiha smirked with arrogance. "Burn in hell, demon. That's what you get for daring to mess with the mighty Uchiha clan," he boasted while Sakura cheered, seeing that her precious Sasuke-kun killed the demon, while Sai made a crash comment about his beep earning him a smack from the pinket. "Was that meant to hurt me?" the demon mocked, causing Team 7 to freeze stiff as they turned back around as their eyes, Sasuke and Sakura's anyway, turned wide in shock and horror as the demon stood just above them, as neither his body nor clothes were even scorched. "Oh, I see now," he growled, quickly leaping through the branches as he grabbed the Uchiha heir by his neck, pinning him against the tree. "This was all about what I did to your clan, isn't it?" he said, pressing pressure against the raven-haired genin's throat while also flaring his kai. "Honey, I didn't take you as an Uchiha since that guy, what was his name again?" He paused, trying to remember the name of Mikoto's dead ex-husband, not having thought about it since the Uchiha MILF always screams his name whenever he gets the chance to visit her for their annual romp sessions. "Oh right, I remember now, Fugaku Team Head, that bastard called himself mighty as well, but in the end, he was just so easy to kill that it was pathetic." He taunted with a laugh, recalling just how easy it was for him to kill the former clan head, as well making his wife forget about his entire existence every time he and the Uchiha matriarch would funk together. Sneering at the demon, Sasuke reached into his weapon pouch and pulled out a kunai, ready to stab this monster in the leg in order to get freed, only for the handheld blade to snap, failing to pierce the skin. "I won't back down, you demon. Not until I have my ga." He began to rant, only to receive a hard punch to the gut, making him cough up saliva as the demonic Uzumaki tightened his grip around his throat, making him choke and gag for air. "I don't give a funk about you or what you want, since you're nothing but an obstacle standing in my way," Naruto growled menacingly as he lifted the Uchiha heir up and tossed him several yards as his body slams against another tree before dropping hard against the ground, getting knocked out cold. "Hi. The blonde demon then hears the team's banshee screaming as he sees the Haruno shrieking as she slugs her right fist against his covered face. Crash, shatter. Beeeeeia. Only for her to screech out in immense pain as every bone in her entire arm shattered like glass as her limb dropped like a limp noodle as she continues to scream loudly before the demon swiped her across her throat as her screaming quickly turned into chokes and gags as blood squirted from her neck. "You're too loud, so I've done this world the favor of removing your voice and screams for good," Naruto annoyingly growled as the pincat was crying in fear. "No. This can't be it. Sasuke-kun, save me." Sakura mentally cried in her head, wishing for her Uchiha savior to rescue her before getting smacked against the forest floor, lying unconscious. After the Uzumaki demon send the now muted banshee flying, he drops down to another branch as he looks at Sai. "If I were you, I would leave this forest now, since I won't be so merciful next time," he growled in a threatening tone as he sees the sky darkening as well, seeing lightning flashes before rain began falling. Leave now and tell your master to send out some fresher meat, as I'm growing bored of slaughtering his lapdogs, he added, surprising the rude agent who began feeling fear flood his senses, despite years of Danzo's training to kill off all emotions. Sai quickly gathered up his unconscious teammates before sealing them within stasis storage scrolls as he leaves right away, well knowing that this encounter must be reported to his master at once. Seeing that the rude agent was long gone, Naruto smells the air, hoping to catch Orochimaru's scent before the rain washes away any trace. Within another part of the Forest of Death, a team of genins with a sound note on their headbands has been running in the rain for the last hour or two as the downpour just kept coming down hard. Why are we in this forsaken rain? Complained the sole woman on the team as she has very long black hair reach her calves with a violet ribbon tied at the end and black eyes as her outfit consists of a pale green vest which clung to her toned torso, abdomen and supple cup bosom due to being heavily soaked, a snake-patterned scarf around her neck as well matching skirt pants. And black calf-high open-toed boots. And why the hell are we going with the plan to destroy Konoha again? She added, wishing that she was back in Odo snuggling with her girlfriend instead of out here in a massive forest getting soaked to the bone. The two men with his entire completely wrapped up in bandages, save for his left eye and ear, as well wearing a straw raincoat over a large poncho and similar snake-patterned scarf pants as well open-toed boots, answered her complaints. Because Lord Orochimaru has ordered us to hunt down the demon as well, kill it and bring its remains to him for his research. The mummy-looking man answered, as he's the only one who is actually dressed for the weather, while his teammates were getting heavily soaked by the rain. Why the hell do we need the demon? I don't think that Lord Orochimaru can overpower a demon, can he? Asked the second man of the team, as he has spiky black hair, as his outfit consists of a beige shirt with a black strip around the sleeves and waist as well 3 prints of the kanji for death on the front, a hapuri attached to his headband, black bands around his forearms. As well the same snake-patterned scarf pants and open-toed boots. I don't know, but I don't care either since the supposed demon is most likely just some rogue jonin in disguise. The mummy-looking man stated, since the only demons were the Bujis and all 9 were currently sealed within Jinchuriki in different villages. Funny story about that, since I've never graduated or became a shinobi. A demonic-sounding voice spoke out as the Odo team quickly pinpointed the source coming from above them as they looked up, seeing a hooded man standing several branches above them. So, in a way, I am not a jonin, nor am I a ninja. He added, flexing out his claws as he jumps down faster than anyone could blink, killed the 2 men by severing their heads as their bodies dropped, leaving only the raven-haired woman. And the girl looks at her now dead teammates as she say while shaking in fear, "Dosu's Aku." The Odo Kunoichi stuttered in fear as she stared at the decapitated bodies of her dead teammates before darting her eyes directly towards the hooded man as he shook the blood off of his clawed hands as she quickly realized that she's now facing the demon as she's thinking that this is how she dies. "Yaya-chan, forgive me," she mentally apologized to her lover back home since she'll never see her again. "Well, what do we have here?" Naruto growled as he looked the Ravenet up and down as his hands shifted back to normal before walking towards her as she fearfully stepped back until she was pressed against a tree as he parted her damp hair from her face. "A beautiful maiden within my forest, let's get you out of this rain and back to my den," he said, stroking her cheek, leaving the woman confused and distracted as her face was blushing really bad since she still thinks that she's going to die before getting knocked out. "Though you even smell like the snake rapist, you're defiantly too beautiful to kill," he said as he hoists her over his shoulders before taking her back to his home where they can warm up. Meanwhile, somewhere else within a cave under a massive tree serving as shelter for 2 teams which are from the same village, Kumo, as they were discussing what to do while waiting for the rain to stop. "How the hell are we going to find the demon within this massive forest as well after all this rain?" A man with a darkened skin tone and short spiky white hair questioned while twirling a lollipop within his mouth as he's wearing a grey overlong headed shirt, black pants and red braces shin guards, along with a sword strapped to his back before glancing outside to see the storm still raging on. "Your guess is good as mine, Amoy, especially since this rain isn't letting up," answered a woman with matcha skin tone and long spiky red hair covered with a white bandana and amber-colored eyes as she's wearing a long teal short-sleeved dress with a white corset around her waist which shows off her pear-shaped figure from her perky cup bust to her wide curvaceous hips, fishnet stockings, high boots and simple yellow earrings and a long sword strapped to her back. "What do you think, Samui?" she asked with her arms crossed, turning her attention to another woman. The woman, identified as Samui, has shoulder-length blonde hair styled in an asymmetrical bob and icy blue eyes as well, an extremely curvaceous hergless figure which was hugged by her grey low-cut dress, showing a lot of her double J cup cleavage, as well the mesh bodysuit underneath, a charcoal skirt that reached the middle of her thick-toned thighs, as well her plump firm heart-shaped rear. And a pair of black calf-high open-toed boots as well as tanto strapped across her lower back, but before the blonde bombshell could even speak, someone else from the other Kumo team cut in. We might as well take this as a sign, since we haven't found any leads as the first day hasn't even went by yet. Complained a man with spiky blonde hair parted in the front as he's dressed in a black slavelle shirt, pants, and elbow-length arm guards as well red-white striped shin guards. I don't know why we are even doing this, since Konoha should have their own dogs doing this instead of us. He added seeing this as a waste of their time and talents, since each of them are Chunin Jonin going undercover as genin, just to help Konoha with their stupid imaginary demon problem. See, I understand it's so uncool that we have to find a demon, which is clearly their own problem, but Raikage-sama as well the council said that we could use this chance to capture the demon and bring its DNA back to Kumo to see if we can use it as a bloodline. Samui said, rubbing her shoulders and back since her extra heavy hooters were seriously a hassle while running to find shelter from the storm. Really, you capture me? It would be more like I would capture you because unlike you, I know this forest like the back of my hand. An eerie sounding voice echoed around the cave, followed sounds of something sharp scraping against the stone walls. Both Kumo teams looked around with weapons drawn as they gathered around each other, trying to find where the scraping noise was coming from, while another woman with long dull blonde hair tied in a long ponytail bound with taut bandages, as she's dressed within a short-sleeved black-purple blouse, black pants, which had a cloud design on both legs. And purple fingerless gloves along with a chain of blue beads wound around her left-hand forearm as she feels something going on within her mind. Hidden, whatever you do, don't anger this person as he or she is growing stronger with each passing second. Warned a voice within the woman's head as she doesn't understand what her Biju was even talking about. The woman, now revealed to be a Jinchuriki, began speaking within her mind. What do you mean, Nibi? What are you? She began to ask, but quickly cut the mental connection as everyone heard the scraping getting louder as they continued to try looking for the source. They continued to hear noise getting louder before it suddenly stopped as they slowly separated looking away to be sure. That was seriously uncool, Samui breathed, putting a hand against her chest, never noticing a figure appearing out of the shadows behind her. Well, either I have died and gone to heaven, or you have been banished from there, the demon huskily growled, getting the busty blonde's attention as she quickly turned around to see the demon staring directly at her. Because I'm seeing a goddess of beauty standing before me, he added as the Kumo Kunoichi stepped back and drawn her tanto as she attempted to strike the Uzumaki, only for her weapon to break upon contact. So very uncool, she said under her breath in a disbelief tone at seeing her blade easily break before getting grabbed by the demon, as everyone watched in horror as she was pulled into the shadows as they all quickly ran out of the cave running outside into the rain. Crack boom. Lightning flashed through the canopy as the remaining Kumo shinobi Kunoichi drew out their weapons. Up there. Amoy shouted, pointing his sword upward towards the treetops, with all of them looking upward to see Demon of the Forest with his claws out as another flash of lightning light up the canopy as the demon vanished from sight. I was truly sure there wasn't no demon. Just another missing nin on the loose. Exclaimed a woman in fear as she has porcelain skin with short chestnut brown hair styled in a crop bob and blue eyes as she's wearing a black midriff blouse which clung her perky cup bust, a matching colored combat as well skirt, red wrist warmers, stocking, and shin guards, as well a pair of black sandals. Well, look like you assumed wrong, Ran. C shouted, wishing that the Raikage would have assigned his partner Derry to this mission, but knew that as he was need back in the village. Crack boom. Again, someone say that I'm a ninja, even when I was never one to begin with, the demon spoke out, appearing behind the woman known as Ran, before disappearing with her through another flash of lightning. 2 down, 4 to go, he mused as the remaining Kumo group heard the sounds of the demon, sharpening his bladed fingers. Sensing something rushing from behind him, Amoy quickly turned around to block the demon's strike with his sword. Just what are you then? You talk like a human, yet those arms and hands say otherwise. He questioned, taking a closer look at the demon's hands and forearms, seeing that they were covered with thick black scales, as he leaped back avoiding another strike, while Kurai and C tried attacking him with their swords shrouded with lightning chakra, only for their attacks to be blocked as they were pushed back with such force. Ignoring the electricity dancing around his body, the hooded demon spoke as he glances towards the white-haired Kumo nin. Now isn't that the true question, what am I? The answer is simple, and yet very complex, as I'm a demon. But what type, I have no idea. He mused, answering the man's question, while quickly avoiding the side strikes by the 2 remaining Kumo Kunoichi, as well a powerful lightning jutsu from the blonde jonin. Demon or not, we have a mission that we're going to complete. Yujito stated with fearful determination, now seeing why Nibi had warned her about this guy. Crack boom. Lightning flashed as the Kumo Jinchuriki stared directly at the demon, her nails extended turning into claws as she struck at him with her hands coated within blue and black flames as the 2 traded strikes and blows as they were both locked in a stalemate. Staring into the female blonde's eyes, the hooded demon spoke. I sense something familiar within you, something I've sensed within another whenever I travel through the village, he said with a slight growl, pushing her back as she easily bounced back, blocking her strike towards his head. But while I've sent someone within the village, they have the scent of sand, blood and tanuki, and yet your scent is different, smelling like cat and fire. I wonder why? He questioned in an amusing tone. This caused Yujiro to stiffen as this gave the demon an opening to hurl her over him and into an incoming Amui. Well, C and Carrie are shocked as they, as well the rest of Kumo, knew about the blonde's Jinchuriki status and that the demon can easily tell just by sensing the Nibi within her. Crack boom. Like always, the demon disappeared within a flash of lightning as the blonde Jonin and dark-skinned Ritet stood with their backs against each other, followed by the recovering Amui and Yujiro. This is bad, the council has gone mad, sending just the 6 of us to capture a demon. Not only have we lost Samui and Ran, now this demon knows about, you know who. If I didn't know better, I'd say the council and Lord Raikage send us purposely on a suicide mission. The white-haired swordman said, only to get smacked by the Jonin leader. Don't talk bad about Raikage-sama, you baka, as if he would actually send his best Jonin to die in the home, cowardly tree huggers who can't even keep their own great shinobi from dying too early. C spat with bitterness, since it's bad enough that the demon was outmaneuvering them, but it had to be in Konoha of all places. I can understand, since a majority of Kumo never liked me to begin with, since you see, being the Raikage lapdog that you are, we're only here to make sure I didn't defect, despite all my years of loyalty to our village, and now Samui and Ran had paid their arrogance with their lives. The female Jinchuriki hissed, leering at the Jonin, since the Raikage's brother gets more respect than she does. Just by being related to Kumo's current and previous Kages, well, she was just an orphan that had this burden placed upon her without her consent. Crack boom. Well, this sure is interesting, a team that's united and yet so divided. The Kumo shinobi Kunoichi heard the mocking voice of the demon echoing around them, but couldn't pinpoint his exact location. Then how about you face us like the demon you are instead of hiding like a coward? Carrie called out in an angry tone as she was getting of this demon play cat and mouse with him. Crack boom. As if answering her demand, the demonic Uzumaki reappeared on the ground across from them. Me? A coward? Well, now I feel insulted, since the only coward I see here is him. He called out as he pointed a clawed hand towards C, who was shocked by this. Wait, C's the coward? Amui said, confused, since his red-haired teammate always called him the coward because of his overthinking. I'm no coward, I'm an elite Jonin as well, Raikage-sama's personal bodyguard. The blonde Jonin argued, feeling that the demon was mocking him, typical Konoha behavior. I've heard what you said about Konoha, and by my guess, you have either some strong dislike or hatred toward here, whatever the reason. Or deep down you're very insecure, since you know that compared to Konoha, Kumo could and never be able to stack up in comparison, the demon stated with mockery in his voice, as the Kumo Jonin clenched the handle of his sword in rage. Like I'm going to take some stupid shit from a stupid demon that this stupid village can't even handle themselves. C furiously yelled, pointing his blade towards the demon for even daring to mock him. Seems like it's the latter if you're feeling this insecure. This behavior will lead you to an early grave. The demon stated as the Jonin lost it and rushed over to attack him. C. Amui, Carrie, and Yujiro yelled plead for their commanding leader to stop, but the next thing everyone knew is that the demon exhales a fierce stream of black and white fire, directly hitting the Jonin. Aye. C screams of agony were loud and quick as the flames released by the demon burned him alive until there was nothing left behind, not even ashes. After witnessing such a horrifying death, the 3 remaining Kumo trio felt any chance of surviving extinguished, just like their leader, as they shakily stare back towards the demon who was rubbing his throat. As I've just said, his insecurities would, and have, led him to his grave, he said through a few coughs of smoke as he began approaching them with his eyes glowing. Amui, having enough of this, stepped forward as he draws out his sword. You guys get away from here. I will hold him off as long as I can. He told him remaining teammates, hoping to buy them some time to escape. Amui, you baka, are you nuts? You've seen what that demon just done to C, you won't last long. Carrie shouted, thinking that her once overthinking paranoid teammate had finally snapped. Plus, it won't work since he knows the forest better than any of us, remember. Yujiro added, recalling how the demon stated that he knew this forest like the back of his own hand. Carrie, for once in your life just listen to me and run. The white-haired swordsman yelled, not taking his eyes off the slowly approaching demon. Both you and Yujiro have to head towards the tower in the center of the forest, just like that Proctor said. If you're there, you two will be safe and inform Lord Raikage about what happened. Now just go and leave this forsaken place. He told them as he charges towards the demon with a lightning chakra-coated sword strike as the demon blocks it with his arm as the two began their duel. Better listen to him, kitten, now get going, Naya. Nibi urgently screamed within Yujito's mind as the Jinchuriki grabbed Kari as they began running off into the forest, before taking a final look back as they watch Amoy jump back away from the demon as he tries another strike as they ran off as the rain masked their crying as they were about to lose another comrade as well a good friend. Crack boom. Once the two Kunoichi were far from sight, Amoy looked towards the demon, knowing that there was no possible way that he would survive. They're gone, now I have to hold you off so they could make it there. He calmly said, leaping up through the branches as he jumped towards the demon with a downward strike. The demon caught the incoming strike with his clawed hand as the dark-skinned man was stunned as the electrical sparks from his lightning chakra danced around his body. They won't get very far, I love the thrill of the hunt, he growled as a flash of lightning shone his fanged smile. What you're doing is truly honorable, I will be sure that you're buried with honor as you will the only one to see my face. I could give you that much before you die. He said as he uses his free hand to remove his hood, showing his face towards the Kumo-nin whose face was stunned with shock. Before him was the face of someone he and the rest of Kumo knew a lot about. Namikaze. He exclaimed within his head, not believing that he and his teammates were fighting the thought to have been long dead, fourth Hokage, that even the Raikage respected as he was trying to figure out how this is even possible. So distracted by the mind-blowing realization has left Amoy opened as he was stabbed through the chest, snapping his mind back to reality as he was lifted up as blood dripped from his mouth as the demon spoke to him. It would be dishonorable not to know the face and name of the one who killed you. He said as his voice lost its demonic undertone. My name is Naruto Uzumaki and I am the demon of the forest, rest in peace, Amoy-san. He introduced himself as Amoy's grip upon his sword loosened, letting it drop onto the ground as his eyes glossed over as he was now dead. After that, Naruto pulls his hood back up before sealing up the body and sword within a storage scroll, planning to bury the Kumo shinobi later as he jumps into the trees to finish his hunt as there was now only two remaining. Kuroi and Yujito kept running through the forest as they realized that they don't even know where the center of the forest even is. Crap, how are we going to find the center of this forest if we don't even know where it even is? The dark-skinned Redet shouted in frustration as they were completely lost along with being very tired as well, soaked to the bone. Crack boom. Before the two Kumo Kunoichi could even think of anything else, they see the demon appear before them in another flash of lightning. Kari glared at the demon, steadying her fears to call out to him. Where is Amoy? What have you done with him? She yelled, demanding to know what happened to her teammate, already dreading the answer as she knows what happened to him but didn't want to accept it. Holding up a storage scroll he'd sealed Amoy's body in, the hooded demon spoke at a simple monotone voice. He's dead, with his body sealed within this very scroll. He informed, making the two women clench their hands as tears seeped from their eyes. If you want to hear it, your friend received an honorable death unlike the other. He added as he faces them once more with glowing eyes. Hearing him saying that caused the two Kunoichi to snap since they've lost Samui, Ran, C, and now Amoy just to get a stupid DNA sample for their council. You're going to pay for what you did, demon. Yujito shouted as she activated her Buji cloak as her chakra took on the form of a two-tailed cat as she pounced into the air and began launching a barrage of mouse-shaped fireballs as the flames were fueled by her rage and despair for the deaths of her comrades' friends. Seeing the incoming jutsu, the demon remained calm as he went through a series of hand signs. Water style. Tidal crash. He called, gathering all the water that has been falling for the past few hours, refocusing it all into a powerfully intense blast of water, which extinguished the fireballs as well, crashing hard against the female Jinchuriki's body, cancelling her Buji cloak as she was slammed hard against a tree as she fell into unconsciousness once hitting the ground. Yujito. The dark-shinned Redet cried out, rushing towards her fallen teammate, only to get intercepted by the demon, causing her to gasp and drop her sword in fear as she was truly terrified. Now then, let's take you both somewhere nice and dry. The demon said before knocking her out with a chop to her neck as he created two shadow clones, takes them away back to his home. Now then, I should probably check on Hinata-chan and Inuki-chan since I should lend them a helping hand. He said to himself with his voice losing the demonic undertone as he goes off to where his Haikakao and Inyazuka-bis are located via their mate marks. The mate was currently taking shelter inside of a large hollow tree with a fire to keep them warm as Shino was sleeping as Hinata and Inuka sat awake watching as the rain kept falling. Say Inuki, do you think that there's something going to happen? The busty Bluetee asked as she's looking outside of their current camp using her Byakugan to keep watch for any chakra signatures that may try attacking them in their sleep. What makes you say that, Hinata? Asked a fair-looking brunette as her two Ninkins were sleeping near the fire. Well, she decided to stay up to keep her sister mate companied. Those gigantic snakes in the forest, those aren't known here in this forest. Hinata explained, since while the forest does hold carnivorous beasts like tigers and bears, the only known ginormous species were leeches, spiders, and even centipedes, but not snakes. Oh, that's not good, Inuki muttered with a grime tone, since all this rain has basically washed and doused away any kind of scent, meaning that her keen sense of smell will be somewhat hindered, leaving only her hearing. But I'm sure Alpha-sama has been handling them as we speak. She reassured, since her master maid is very strong, as she was looking forward to the day she could sire his pups just like her older sister Hana, along with her mother, who had just been impregnated a week ago. Yeah, you're right, I don't know what I was saying. Maybe I'm over worrying for nothing. The lavender-eyed Hyuga said, feeling relieved as both of them keep talking a bit. You may have a reason to be worrying, as I recently fought some creep calling himself Orochimaru, as I got the feeling that he's planning something. Spoke a voice that they knew all too well, followed by a familiar person appearing just behind them from the shadows. Naruto-sama, Alpha-sama. Both Konoha Kunoichi Whisperi exclaimed with joy, wanting to keep their excitement to a minimum, since Shino as well Akamaru and Fang were sleeping just a few feet from them before realization hit them both. Wait, Orochimaru, as it the Snake Sannin himself, Inuki exclaimed in a whisper as her eyes were wide, hearing that her alpha had actually fought Konoha's infamous missing nin, once again proving his strength as well, the perfect candidate to breed and father her pups. You mean, is it one of the 3 Sannins that we've learned about during our academy days? Hinata added, also whispering with Naruto, looking confused about what they were talking about. We did. How odd, the only thing I remembered from the academy was most of my classmates like you too, as well Iruka's boring lectures. The demonic Uzumaki said as his 2-mate sweat dropped as they remembered why he doesn't know about the Sannin. Oh right, this was the following year after everyone thought that you have died, so the academy upped their lesson plans, including the dark side of Konoha's past, with Orochimaru being one of them. The Inyazuka chimed, since her alpha never did graduate from the academy like the rest of their class, especially since everyone had been assigned to different teachers after the deaths of Iruka and Mizuki, who was later branded a traitor. Crossing his arms, Naruto hummed in thought before speaking. I see. Anyway, you girls should tell whoever is in charge about that snake guy, since all the snakes seem to be originating from him. He informed, giving both of them a kiss on the cheek, as well a hard firm squeeze on their rears, making both of them bite back a moan, before sinking back into the shadows, but stopped as he almost forgot something. Oh, here's something for your guys to pass, I think. He said, unsure, as he gives them 3 scrolls that the Odo and Kumo teams seem to have been carrying. Where did you find 2 Earth scrolls as well 2 Heaven scrolls? The busty Haika asked in shock, since she's surprised that her master has given them what they needed to move on to the next stage of the exams. After that Orochimaru person escaped me, 2 of your fellow shinobi tried to attack me, as one was Makoto-chan's bastard son, while the other was a very scrawny man with bright pink hair as well, a huge forehead, calling himself a woman, as his voice was very shrill. He explained, not seeing the 2 Kunoichi gaining very cold icy eyes, knowing exactly who he was talking about. Anyway, the duck ass Uchiha dropped one of those when I knocked him against a tree. He added as the 2 chuckled in amusement, wishing that they had gotten to see the Uchiha elite getting tossed around. Before you leave, Naruto-sama, me and Inuka-san has something we wish to talk about. The blue tea offered as both of them begin telling their master lover about the ladies that he could get. I see, I will keep them in mind, Naruto mused, hearing his mate's suggestions about what other women he could claim as his. Thank you both for telling me this, but for now I have to head home to rest since I did a lot killing today. As well having few guests waiting once they wake up. He said before giving both his mates another kiss before disappearing into the shadows. So this part ends here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, so quickly like this video for second part of this series. And comment down below your thoughts about this series. And now it's time for me to go, bye.